Welcome to the Manuchehri podcast. Over the last 30 years, it has been my joy to assist humanity in aligning with their magnificence so they may heal, discover their natural gifts, and communicate with loved ones living on the other side. May you also experience delight while we dance in the powerful, intuitive world of energy. Let's get going. Hello, everyone. This is Manuchehri. Welcome to my podcast where energy meets the divine. I just want to start off before we start talking about energy more specifically, that I think it would be lovely if we dedicate this particular podcast to sending love all over the world. There's a lot of wacky, weird things happening. And I'm sure this doesn't relate to anyone who listens to this podcast, but sending energy for the United States to vote more responsibly for those who did not, to vote more responsibly in the next election, if we're blessed enough to have an election after this one. So we're just going to send lots of love all over the world to everyone, wishing everyone safety and health and happiness, beautiful, bright energy, sending angels everywhere, all over the earth realm. And of course, in particular, to areas that are struggling, which many areas have been struggling for a while. So that's what I'd like to dedicate this podcast to love and health and harmony, circulating the globe, that all the Reiki energy, all the other types of energies, the quantum consciousness begins to positively stabilize our planet. And that this energy goes all the way down to the soil, deep, deep, deep into the soil where it can transform energy so that those who walk upon the earth walk upon it from a place of more conscious, co-creative energy, more compassion for others and, of course, for themselves. Okay, so today, since I brought up the Auric field in my last podcast, I'm going to talk about it again, but slightly differently. One of the reasons why it's so important for us to be grounded, that means you have to be happy here. You got to figure out a way to be happy. And I think a lot of people are waiting for something to knock them over their head to make them happy, but you literally have to kind of change your perception. You have to kind of choose to see things in a more beautiful way. Like right now on my desk, because I just opened up some sparkling water, and my desk is a little too small. It's the perfect size for this room, but I have so much stuff on it, And so I kind of hit it and bump it, and then the water shakes. It's in this beautiful glass bottle. And every time I feel like it's winking at me, I feel like it's saying hello, all the water molecules, Dr. Emoto's beautiful teachings about water. I just feel all the little splashes talking to me. So that's a choice. That's a choice. Because I didn't always, I have always been a somewhat optimistic person, but I've allowed myself to really expand into my optimism, to let it be the guiding force in my life. Like it's so crucial because everything we want, and everyone deserves to have whatever they want. Everyone is a master creator, whether they realize it or not. And we want to be in conscious co-creation where we're creating what we desire, not what we don't desire. Most people just keep creating what they don't want. Just over and over and over again. Different stories, different people, different issues, but the same feeling, same outcome. And it kind of sucks. So in this conscious co-creative process, having your frequency elevated is so important, since everything what you desire is at a higher frequency than all the things you do not desire. Like it's understanding the universe is simple. It's simple. It's not complex. The mind is complex, and we're supposed to relax our minds, not think a lot, not over process, not over analyze. That's why if you can become present, then you're in a much better state. You're in a much better place of being when you are thinking. And a lot of times when people overthink, they just start to go down the rabbit hole and into more negative thinking, because the brain has such a close connection to the ego, which is drenched in fear, and it's in the brain. So it's so critically important to find little things, but that means you have to stop and focus on them. If someone else were sitting here and the table moved, they might go, ugh, I can't believe that table moved. Where if you're present, you start to have a different awareness. You start to see things differently. You feel things differently. You have a completely different experience. And the reason why this is so incredibly important, one of the reasons, is because that first layer of your auric field is a hologram. I believe I mentioned that last time, of all of your anatomy and physiology in complete and total health. And this hologram is singing to your physical form, to your real anatomy and physiology all day long, explaining what health looks like, what your organs need to do to step into more health, so that you can be consciously aware of what you might need or what you need to eradicate from your diet or medications that you're taking or things in your life. Like, a lot of people go to jobs they hate and they wonder why their body doesn't feel good. It won't. If you keep doing things that you don't like, you're surrounded by people you don't enjoy, you go do things for 8 hours or more a day, 5 days a week, that lower your frequency, things start to suffer. The energy gets lower and heavier, and the body requires light and high frequency. So you may not be able to change your job right now if that's the case of what I just described, but you can take steps every single day to find the water juggling that makes you smile a little bit. I'm not kidding. Please become present, because then you'll be grounded. When you enjoy being on earth, you ground. That means that these beautiful roots or vines or beams of light begin to emerge out of your body and hook you to deeper cores of the earth's energy. And then these beams of lights, roots, or whatever you want to call them, start to pull up earth energy. And that's what the hologram needs. It needs energy from the earth coming from your body to the first layer of your auric field for it to then be activated to talk to your internal healthy mechanism. And it's really pretty. I mean, if you could only imagine all of your anatomy and physiology floating around you in this beautiful field of energy, happy, whole, complete. When we're doing conscious co-creative processes, when we're manifesting, the only thing you have to focus on, and this is the tricky part of it, but this is where I would love for your attention to be at, is to focus on the outcome that you desire. Not how you got there, not when you got there, not why you aren't there yet. You won't be able to figure out how it's going to happen when we're really in alignment. It's an extremely magical experience to get from point A to point B. It's incredibly magical. And the way that you get there is you stop trying to figure it out. Stop feeling bad about not being where you want to be. Stop feeling victimized by it. Stop feeling wounded by it. Enjoy the present moment, the water jiggling in the green glass container. Get grounded, pull up earth energy. And then when you're in that frequency and that vibration, it's so much easier to focus on what you want as if it's already here. And that's really the ticket. Your mind is powerful. Let's use it in the way it was created to be used, right? That's why analyzing and processing doesn't work, because when people are trying to manifest through figuring it out, why they're not present and they're feeling things that have already happened or things that could happen that they don't like, they squelch the manifesting process. It's really difficult to manifest from that place. So you could become a speedy manifester if you train yourself, because it is training. You train yourself to be present and only focus on the final outcome. Only the final outcome, which is joyful. It's happy. That thing's already here. You don't know how it got here. You don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long it takes. That doesn't matter either. Everything happens at the perfect moment. And you're learning how to manifest. Every time something weird happens in my life, I'm like, dang. I collect myself and I go, oh, this is the perfect opportunity to focus on the desire that I want in this particular situation, whatever the situation is, so that I can even get better at manifesting. Better and better and better and better at manifesting. Taking some deep breaths. And then the second layer of the auric field is unstructured. So the first is structured. The second one is unstructured. It's the emotional response system. And this is why I ask you to rest in the lower half of your body, because if you know what you're really feeling, you're going to make better choices. Not what you're thinking, not what you think is practical or the right decision or responsible. All of those things are lovely, but intuition is practical. It is responsible. It just may not make sense in this moment. When you choose intuition, it may not be for a couple years that you see the practicality in it. You're going to like your intuitive choice much better than your non-intuitive choice. I guarantee you. I guarantee you that you are going to like that. I promise. You're going to like the intuitive choice better. You will. But it may not seem practical. But the world hasn't finished. Like we could be in a cycle where something's going to shift, just like we're in a weird cycle right now where, interest rates are elevated, the stock market's going up and down, and other more horrific and tragic things are happening on the planet. And so if you could stay in your intuition versus a fear hyperactive mind, and you're making intuitive choices, they may not make sense right now, but they will make sense later. They will. They will make excellent sense later. And then, of course, the layer of the field that is beyond the emotional response system. And the reason why I want you to rest in the lower half of your body, because the second chakra and the second layer of the field are best friends, which I think I said last week. And that third layer of the auric field, which governs the immune system, if you think negatively, if you have a health problem and you're trying to figure it out and you're lowering your vibration because you're scared, you are weakening your immune system, weakening it. You are making it work so much harder. Positive vibrational feeling, because that third layer of the auric field, also called the mental plane, is connected to your brain. It is. So that means your thoughts have everything to do with your immune system, your well-being. And if you start to think it positively, regardless of your health situations, which is critical. And I know it's challenging when your body's complaining or not feeling very well. I know this is a great challenge, but I guarantee you, if you're on earth right now, which I think everyone who's listening is, and you have a health challenge, small or big, you are wanting to change the way you think. You would not have attracted it. You would not have attracted it if you did not want to learn how to think positively no matter what, especially when your body is in need. It's something you desire. You desire this. You desire to run your energy above your physical reality, your temporary physical reality, because you will have a different reality when you think differently. That's just what happens. Conscious co-creation. Okay, we're going to go to the phone lines now. I'm going to answer some questions from individuals.
Hello, Marie. This is Kris. I'm in Hood River, and I just love your cells. My question is, what does it mean when a soul doesn't remember their childhood? I know several people in my life that can't pull up any memories, don't recall anything that their siblings can. And for me, I can remember everything almost from the get-go. If you could answer that, I so would appreciate that, your insight. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, Kris. Well, it's not that uncommon, actually. A lot of people don't remember. I remember right around age 3 or 4. I have one memory that I retrieved through self-hypnosis when I was quite young, probably not quite 1, somewhere in there. So a lot of people don't remember their childhood, and everybody remembers childhood differently. Even all siblings, let's say there's a bunch of kids, they grow up in the same home. That doesn't mean that they're going to have the same memory of what happened, because everything's based on perception. My siblings and I have different memories. In a way, my sister and I have similar ones, but the way we perceive them are different. It's fascinating. So this is not unusual. And I believe that a lot of people don't have memory. So most people, if they remember, it's around age 5, probably when they're being socialized, when they went to kindergarten. That's when people start to remember. But a lot of it has to do with, I think a lot of families, even today, don't treat their kids very well. I mean, I get shocked by the way people treat their children, the way they talk to them. I'm shocked by it every single day still. And my children are all in their 30s. I'm about to have a 40-year-old daughter, at the end of the year. So it's some sort of trauma. When kids aren't listened to, or they don't have freedoms, or there's too much controlling, or, some type of fear or whatnot going on, then kids begin to, forget what happened. They move into some sort of trauma and they can't remember what happened. And that's why most people don't remember. Yeah. But good for you. That's great. But just know, if you have siblings, not everyone's going to have the same memory. And that's okay too. And actually, if siblings would all sit down and talk about their own personal memories, then I think we get better stories of what really happened. Because I don't think one person's perception is accurate. In the beginning of my career, one of the first things I would do when I laid hands on people is look at their childhood. Because, of course, a big percentage of people who've come to see me have had serious health issues. And health issues have a lot to do with the first chakra, right? Because of that first layer of that auric field, the hologram. And I would say to people, man, your childhood, and they would go, oh, well, no, it was great. And I'm like, okay. And then later they talk to a sibling or they remember a few things. And some people, especially older souls, empathic people, tend to give their parents more of a benefit. They're just very kind and forgiving and loving people, which I think is a good thing. I think ultimately everyone, it would be in their best interest to appreciate and value their childhood, but from an honest perspective. I was telling my sister recently, she doesn't agree with my perception, by the way, of childhood. And we both agree that it was tough. It wasn't easy. But I'm to a point where I can see so much beauty in my childhood because I think of my parents as souls rather than my mother and my father. If I think of them as my mother and my father, I'm more annoyed because I'm disappointed in the choices they made. But if I think of them as souls, oh, I love them much more deeply. I find them incredible and courageous and unique. And then I'm told one of the reasons why I chose the family that I was born to in this lifetime. And it's because I was allowed independence in my thinking. My parents didn't take us to church, at least not for very long. I don't have any memories of going to church. And my mother was a Quaker. And so there was definitely more of a liberal or progressive way of looking at the world. So I didn't have a lot of rules in my belief system, which I am grateful. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Marie, hello from Byron Bay, Australia. My name's Abbie, and thank you so much for everything you do. I've been listening for about 6 months, and I finally do have a burning question. I really, really would love to know what my blind spot might be. I basically have been on a rocket ship ride of learning in the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years, more maybe, with plant medicine and spirit. I had dreams, automatic writing, you name it. I have been through a lot. Just recently, a relationship breakup over my spirituality, funnily enough.
Oh, interesting.
But my dog passed away. What else can I cram in this? I have my main passion is music. I've finally come back to creating again, and creating with all of this newfound, I guess, spiritual force behind my writing, even though that's not blatantly obvious in the lyrics that I write. I have also learned how to have a day job, a mundane day job, and pour love into it, which is cleaning houses.
I love it.
And I've also created a product business, which is the luxury cleaning products that I use that really do help alchemize the ritual of cleaning. And it's a beautiful product business, but I find here I am struggling to juggle all of the things. if you have any clarity and insight into how I can move forward, that would be absolutely amazing. Thank you once again for everything. Bye-bye.
Hello, Abbie. It's lovely to chat with you. I do think you are moving forward. I love that you've found a mundane job that actually keeps you grounded, by the way. It's one of the ways I ground. If I go clean a toilet, I'm grounded. And, I only clean with bleach. The person who helps clean my house, they use, I don't know how luxury their products are, but they don't use things like bleach. But the nurse in me likes it after a week, after they've left, I pull up the bleach bottle and go to town. So I have a great feeling about your cleaning business and the luxury products that you're creating. I really like it. And I think it makes you happy. It really does. It gives you that anchor. So some people, like you, Abbie, have fear about wealth. That's kind of your blind spot. And I recently learned this when I was teaching a self-love course, and my higher self started to ask me to channel information about wealth and how wealth and self-love really go hand in hand, because we have so much freedom and independence when we have enough resources. We can make more choices. We can make a lot more choices that are super fun and interesting for us. We have the freedom to do so. We could work less. We could take more time off. We could travel. We could, whatever's important to the individual, because everybody has different needs, and some people don't care about certain things that other people care about. My daughter had to recently buy a car, and she knows how much I love cars. And so she called me and said, Mom, I'm going to have to go to the dealership. And they're not her favorite thing. She likes them, but, it's not her total favorite thing, although she has a nice car. At any rate, she said, you have to come shopping with me because I know how much you're going to love it. And because I do, I really love cars. I get a new car every 3 years just because I just lease them. So, like how I think cars are cool, not everybody thinks cars are cool. So that's the fun thing about having freedom financially. You're able to then create more freedom in the areas of your life that bring you the greatest joy, whatever those may be. So I think, and it's not a blind spot, it's an area where you want to learn. And I know you're improving your wealth. You are. You have created a business, you've created products. It's only going to get better. And that's why we want to utilize this exercise, but also know that it's incredibly normal for everyone to have wealth. That's why we have billionaires on earth who do things that, that the mainstream culture thinks is wacky, like build rockets and go up for 5 minutes or something like that, but they're there to really stimulate us to dream bigger. They're there to kind of push out the boundaries so that everyone begins to value and appreciate wealth versus be afraid of it or concerned about it or lower their vibration about it. So a lot of people lower their frequency when it comes to wealth. And I think that not only if you follow the recipe that I've offered on most of these podcasts, that you begin to think of something in your mind that gets you to a feeling of great happiness, great happiness as you engage with your wealth. That means before you grab a debit card or write a check or transfer funds or anything that you do, pay for your groceries when you're at the grocery store, you want to think about something that makes you very, very happy. And you want to think about it and get in that feeling of the happiness the entire time you're in the interaction. So you might have to be in the happy vibration, talk to the cashier who's helping you, pay for your groceries, get back into that reminder of the happy vibration. But on top of it, for you, so on top of that exercise for you, Abbie, I want you to love yourself the whole time. So as you are sitting or standing at the cash register, buying your groceries, and you're thinking of something that really brings you great joy, I then want you to have a thought right afterwards. I love you so much, Abbie. You're a wonderful woman. I'm so proud of you. I think that's going to help enormously. And then you're going to have more freedom to make the music that you want. And I would consider, doing some sort of sound healing music. Yeah, I think people would love that. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Hi, Marie. This is Bella from Ontario, Canada. and I'm calling because I have a question about my relationship with my brother. He's about a few years older than me. We're half siblings. We share a father who passed away about
Oh,
10
I'm
years
sorry.
ago. And I'm finding this relationship incredibly difficult. We kind of go in and out of, being really close, and then a lot of fighting. I find sometimes it just kind of takes my breath away and comes out of nowhere, like his rage. And I kind of came to the conclusion yesterday, like, maybe I don't need this relationship in my life.
Yeah.
But I feel really conflicted because there's a lot of closeness as well as a lot of difficulty. And usually I feel like I can see these things pretty clearly, but when we get into fights, it feels like I don't even know what to do. I feel like I've tried everything and he just kind of comes at me, and he has a lot of, displaced rage and, hurt about his own childhood versus mine. And I feel like for so long I've been kind of, quieting myself and just kind of trying to keep the peace. And yesterday I just was like, no longer. And I kind of stood up for myself. And after I got off this call with him that didn't really go well again, and this constantly seems to happen, I kind of felt a sense of peace that, unfortunately, like, maybe we won't have a relationship, but it just makes me feel really sad to think about that, because I really care about him as well. Anyway, any insights that you have on our relationship? I would love a world where we were able to move through some of these things, but I do feel like he needs to maybe do his own healing, and I maybe need to be away from him for a while. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Thank you, and I appreciate your help and everything you do. Thank you.
Thanks, Bella. Yeah, no, I think you're right. You're correct. One of the things that I think humans don't know, or they forget, or they move into the mind-made emotion of guilt, because guilt is not a real emotion. Creation doesn't feel guilty about anything. Creation created everything, even all the wacky stuff that's happened. Creation is a co-creative process of these experiences. So guilt is a waste of your time and your energy. It's not a real emotion. But humans tend to forget that when we set a boundary, which really the boundary is for yourself. You've already tried to set boundaries with your brother and it has not worked. He's got his own issues. He needs to go work on them in order to have a relationship with you. And I think that's the boundary you need to set, which is with yourself, which means when he calls, you don't respond unless he's had some therapy and can call you and have a conscious conversation with you about why he's changed. And he also apologizes for his rage. Right? And of course, you get to do whatever you want. Nobody has to do anything that I suggest ever, although this is intuitive. So if everybody in the world just was given carte blanche to do and be however they want to, even if it's offensive or unkind or hurts other people's feelings, which a lot of humans just allow that to happen, by the way, right? They just do. That doesn't help the person who needs to grow. So there's always people on earth, usually empathic, older soul people, that need to learn to set boundaries with themselves. And then there's a whole bunch of people on earth who need to learn compassion. And they're not going to learn compassion unless the older soul people go, I'm not going to be friends with you because I don't like the way you're treating me, or I don't like what happened, or please go get some therapy. I don't deserve this rage. And then they don't call them back. And, they don't invite them to family dinners until this thing is resolved. I mean, how else are people, especially younger souls, going to go do and get the inner work that they need? They're not going to, because they're not motivated to do so. And they may not. That's the other thing. They may choose not to. And you have to decide, are you going to have a relationship with someone who disrespects you? I vote no. So I think you're on the right track. I do. And do your best. Whenever you feel guilty or it makes you feel sad, the only thing you need to do is to have some internal, loving conversation with yourself. Please. That's all you need. That's what you need at that time. Older souls always feel guilty for everything, even things that they have nothing to do with. Yeah, nothing. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Marie. This is Jackie Wright. I need help understanding and helping my daughter, Carly, and Ricky understand and accept an accident that just occurred. It happened yesterday in
Oh,
Colorado with
oh,
his best friend, Johnny, and his fiance were riding a bike. She lost control of the bike, had a helmet on, and went head on into a tree.
oh,
She was in the hospital all last night. He saw Johnny, what happened.
oh,
And they had just gotten engaged. This was the love of his life since high school. They're 29.
oh,
He has a success in business, a good family. They had just come back from Japan. The
oh,
last post on their Instagram were their pictures for their engagement pictures. They had just moved in together. She had come from New York to live with him in Colorado, and she wasn't really adept at doing a lot of sports and outdoor activities. And he had wondered if that would work. This was his, and she learned and did the biking and was doing it with him, for him, and enjoying it, and this happened. And
yeah,
I don't know how to help them understand, and I'm having trouble understanding at
yeah.
29 this has hit so close to home that my children are that age. So this just happened. She passed this morning. My son-in-law's on his way to Colorado now. My daughter's staying here and working. I'm staying with her. We just took a long walk, and I can just see in her eyes and feel in her heart and know how deeply this is affecting her and Ricky and,
Yeah,
of course, Johnny
of course.
for the rest of his life. I want your assistance on how to help them and help me understand it more on a deeper intuitive level.
I'm so sorry, Jackie, for you and your entire family. And I think I know who you are, by the way. I think we met in Hawaii. These things are hard to understand. They're very challenging. Anyone can leave Earth at any moment. That is the absolute 100% truth. I've known that since I was a very young child. For some reason, I just have that knowingness. And souls don't leave Earth until they make a decision to do so. So this is not, even though this was an accident, that is not an accident. This young woman wanted to leave her body at age 29 in an accident, because we even choose how we want to leave our bodies before we incarnate, and wanted it to be fairly quick, right? Because most likely she was brain dead or in a coma or things of that nature. So I know that's a hard concept to understand, and we can't guarantee that anybody else will understand that, but souls are very powerful. They're very wise. They're genius creatures. They don't make errors. They don't make mistakes. They choose to come. They choose to leave. I'm sure you're wondering the why. Like, why would she choose that? And I'm sure I could spend a lot of time, or more time than whatever seconds or minutes I spend on this call, working on receiving information about why this young woman decided to leave her life at such a young age. But it's also going to be complicated. Some souls have had hundreds of thousands of lifetimes, and they come back to Earth to have certain experiences. Some souls, I'm not saying this is true for the young woman who passed, but some souls will say to the heavens as they're reincarnating, because what if one of the things they want to learn is to feel or to give unconditional love? It is something that souls search for. Some souls have never had those experiences. I didn't really know what unconditional love felt completely until I had kids, where I would even say to myself, not to my children, that if any of them became hardened criminals, I would go visit them every day that I could. I would bake them goods while they were in prison. So souls come here to have certain experiences, and when a soul reaches some sort of pinnacle of something that they wanted to experience, they may have said before they incarnated, and by the way, when I figured this out, I just want to go home, because we think of the heavens as our home, not earth. Earth is a temporary physical reality. We spend a lot of time in the non-physical. Even other realities besides heaven are non-physical. And then people who experience a loss young in life, or loss of a young person in their life. So like someone who's lost a parent when they were young, or a spouse that lost a spouse while they were young. It doesn't matter what type of relationship it is, but when there's youth attached to it, it means the survivors want to learn to let go. They want to learn to surrender. And I've met a few people who've lost the love of their life, not even at 29, maybe even a little younger. But 29 is such an interesting age because people are usually in their Saturn return. And so they make very profound, unique decisions. They come to new awarenesses when they're in their first Saturn return. Second too, but definitely more so in the first Saturn return. And people who've lost someone young, many times in that equation, it's because they wanted to have more of a spiritual connection to God, the universe. They may start to study spirituality just so that they can have that connection to their loved one. Yeah. So that could be why it's happening, but just know it's very complicated. It was not something that could have been avoided, even if, let's say, everybody rode their bikes safely and no one got hurt. There would have been another accident, maybe 6 months from that time period, or maybe a year, but there would have been another one. It may not have been bike related, could have been very different, but it would have happened again. My daughter had a friend who had a brain tumor. It was benign, but it was in a really tricky spot in his brain. Luckily, had very skilled neurosurgeons who went in and removed the growth. And luckily, he didn't have any brain damage from it. It's amazing. But he died 6 months later in a drowning accident. So, right. So even when people have a brain injury, we call it a cerebral accident, right? So yeah, when it's our time, it's our time. That's what happens. I hope that's helpful. I truly do. And I'm sending all my love to all of you, and to the lovely young woman who is somehow awakening everyone's souls from experiencing her.
Hi, Marie. My name is Sharon. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am curious on what area of the multisensory world do you think that I would find my most joy? I guess I love the idea of being a medium, being a medical intuitive, accessing the
Yeah.
Akashic records. I love angels. I love all of it. And I don't think that's gonna work.
Why?
But I guess we'll see what you say. I do have joy every single day of my life, and I feel like I am in a much better place than I was. I did have all of this kind of start last year. Yeah, and so I love it all.
Great.
And then the other thing that I guess I maybe need some help with is I feel things like, and I hurt so deeply when people tell me things.
I know.
And it's almost like I can see it and I can feel it, and it's like this all-encompassing emotion that sometimes can just really, I don't know, bring me down. So for like an instance, parent-teacher conference, I have a kindergartner. He's having trouble focusing and working in groups, and I don't know how to help him. I would love to be able to talk to his soul to figure out, am I giving him the wrong foods? Is this a vitamin deficiency that I'm working on here? Or is he just a young kindergartner and he's a boy?
Yeah.
So I have all these different kind of curiosities, and I love the idea of knowing how to help him and help myself.
Yeah.
and help anybody who wants my help too, because I truly love what I do every day. But I would love people to feel that joy as well.
Yeah.
So any advice you can give me, thank you very, very much. Bye.
Bye. So, Sharon, you don't have to choose. I wouldn't choose at this sector either mediumship or medical intuitive or angel reader. I would not choose animal communicator. I would not choose. I think that's, unless you had clarity. If you had clarity, great. But what if you're a one-stop shop network anyone? I mean, people can ask me questions about their pets, and believe me, they do. I'm a medium. I'm a medical intuitive. I talk to dead, angels, spirit guides. So please don't limit yourself. I don't think that's helpful. Let's just go towards the multisensory realm as much as possible. In your voicemail, I'm like, are you the kindergarten teacher or do you have a kindergartner? I don't know which one it is, honestly. But one of the things we want to learn to do, I mean, this kid doesn't need sugar, period. And unfortunately, the way that we get kids to sit in chairs for long periods of time is through medication, for attention deficit disorder and things of that nature. I don't think that is the answer. I mean, it clearly isn't the answer. The answer is smaller classrooms, well-paid teachers, of course. And if we have smaller classrooms, then people don't have to be in chairs for 6 hours a day. They could learn outside while they're climbing a tree. So we're having kids having a challenging time sitting for such long periods of time because a long time ago, when we were creating the educational system, like public schools, kids worked on farms. They lived on farms. They were up early in the morning. They were milking cows and gosh knows what else. So they needed to sit and rest so that their brain could work even better for them. But it's not like that anymore. We don't have those. Kids don't do a lot anymore like they used to. They don't have as many chores. They don't have as much activity in terms of there's not a farm to take care of. There's not sheep to go take care of. It's different. So we really need to change the whole educational system. But this empathic thing, that's why you love the multisensory world. You're empathic. It's a good thing. It's a blessing. If everyone were empathic on the planet, we wouldn't be sending, weapons around the world to hurt one another. It wouldn't happen. Empathic people would not allow that to happen, but they just would not. So you need to get happier though. Like what's happening is you're feeling it so deeply because you're dropping your energy, and you can still have the awareness and the consciousness without being so deeply hurt. In fact, you'll have more consciousness, you'll have more answers and more solutions if your energy's elevated. So we need to get your energy to run faster. It needs to be calibrated so you'll still have the consciousness, which is the empathy of what's happening, but without feeling it as if it's happening to you, because it's not happening to you. As an intuitive, if I felt, and I did in the beginning, when I laid hands on patients in the hospital, I could feel their physical pain. I was excited at first. I was like, wow, how long have you had pain at a number 10? Because I just asked you, or your other nurse asked you, and it was a 3 20 minutes ago, right? And then I lay hands on someone like, oh man, their pain is a 10. But I would walk out of those rooms, and my guides eventually spoke to me and said that I needed to run my energy faster because it takes a while to recover from that type of an experience. It's really hard on your body. It's not good for you. So it means you have to run your energy faster. And what helps you to run your energy faster is authentic personal happiness. Has nothing to do with anyone else. So I would go to the cafeteria in the hospital and walk out into the courtyard outside of the cafeteria and sit by the fountain by myself, listening to the water trickling and the birds chirping and look at the beautiful green grass. And then my energy would start to run fast. So you need to work on calibrating. You can just ask the universe or say to the universe, thank you so much for helping me to calibrate my subatomic particles to run faster. And then you're going to hear more intuition. You're going to feel more guidance. You're going to have a deeper understanding. It's difficult to assess your intuition when you're having to get over your body having a full-fledged reaction to something that has nothing to do with you. Okay, I hope that's helpful. And I want to thank everyone again for listening to this podcast. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I also have Instagram and Facebook. I teach a lot of classes. I believe my next self-love class will be in the fall, and I think that's up on the website. The Reiki Workshop, if it's not up on the website, it will. I've already signed those hotel contracts. And I'm going to be teaching a class about preventing and healing with energy medicine, preventing illness and healing illness with energy medicine. So it's going to be a 12-week course, and that will also be in the fall. And I'm working on teaching courses to help people create their own businesses, or if you already have a business in the multisensory world or something entrepreneurish that's creative or different or unique. I'm working on creating some courses to help people streamline their own natural gifts and talents into a career that makes them very, very happy, which we all deserve. Blessings to everyone and the entire world. May we all learn to love each other, and may we all learn to be happy no matter what. Bye-bye for now.